Welcome to the Book Club Life. I am so excited to have Karen Witemeyer here with me today.
Yay.
And did I say that right?
You did.
Okay. I have loved Karen Witemeyer's writing since her very first book, which made me laugh so hard. And it was the sweetest, funnest story. And the name of that one was A Tailor-Made Bride. I have a copy of it at home.
Yay.
I'm so excited to bring you Karen. Karen, for those who aren't the raving fans that I am yet, tell us a little bit about yourself. And actually, today we're going to talk about one of your more recent ones, Fairest of Heart.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your book. And before you do that, we are going to play a giveaway game. I've challenged Karen, she writes Western romance, I've challenged her to a duel at the end of this episode. So we'll see who is going to give away a book. Is it going to be Karen or is it going to be me? We'll have to wait and see. But Karen, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Fairest of Heart.
Sure. So I'm Karen Witemeyer. I live in Abilene, Texas with my husband, and I used to have 3 kids that lived at home, and then they all grew up and went on their merry way.
How dare they? How dare
they? I write Texas historical romance, usually set in the 1880s, 1890s era. That's kind of my sweet spot.
Okay.
I love Texas heroes and feisty heroines and a dash of humor. I love to laugh as I read and as I write. So that's what you can expect from one of my books. This latest series is the Texas Ever After series, and Fairest of Heart is book 1 in that series.
And Snow White is the
Yes,
inspiration.
can you tell the dress?
Yes. When I saw this cover, it just made me want to twirl into the couch and read it immediately.
So as you can tell, they are fairy tale retellings, kind of from the Western romance genre. So we have a Texas hero instead of a Prince Charming, and we have a heroine who, kind of like Snow White, was the victim of a very vain woman who had power over her, and she left to kind of try to escape that, and ends up at the Diamond D Ranch, which is kind of a geriatric home for cowboys that are no longer working. And so you have the 7 cowboys that live there that are representative of the 7 dwarfs. And it was a lot of fun to write, and kind of, it's its own story. It's not Snow White necessarily retold, but if you're familiar with the Snow White story, you're going to have fun finding all kinds of Easter eggs throughout the story.
Yeah, little nods.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I just loved it. And how did you, okay, 2 questions. Do you come up with these as you go, or do you plan them all out ahead of time?
Like for the whole series? Is that?
Well, each book individually.
Okay, so I like to have a general idea of where I'm going with the story. So I'm kind of half and half between a plotter and a pantser is kind of the writing lingo there. I like to know who my characters are, how they're going to meet, some of the big plot points that are going to happen along the way, and then how the happily ever after is going to work. So I have a general roadmap, but then I just sit down and write. So sometimes I'll have things that I never originally planned that will creep in, and I kind of just let the spirit lead where it wants to go. But generally I stay pretty close to my original intention, so it's very rare for me to get really off track, but it's always fun to kind of just have little surprises come along the way.
Well, there's so many surprises for the reader, for me, just little moments that make me laugh, that I just wonder if those, I guess they come to you and make you laugh as you're writing them.
Sometimes they do, yes.
Okay. So now we're going to go to our portion of the show where we get to know you a little bit more as a person, using themes and quotes from your book.
All right.
So we'll just start off a little light and easy.
Good.
So here's a quote from the book. She needed a friend, and books made wonderful companions. I quite agree. So can you tell about a time when a book was a companion and a balm to your soul, and just something that you needed, and what was that book?
So obviously I was a book lover as a kid. I just would go to the library, come home with big stacks of books. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be in my room reading the books. I can remember one of the first books that made a really big impression on me. I remember being in my school library, and I was in a relatively new school. I can't remember if it was my first year there or second year, but I was pretty young. I think probably third or fourth grade. And I remember going into the school library and trying to figure out what book I wanted. You could only pick one. Which book did I want to pick off the shelf? And there was this book that really just called to me, and I think it was the title, The Last of the Really Great Wang Doodles. What an imagination. I was just like, oh, I have to find out what a Wang Doodle is. I need to, and it actually was written by Julie Andrews, who, Mary Poppins. Why wouldn't you want to read that? I didn't,
I didn't know that was written by her. I've seen the title, but I didn't know she wrote it. That's really neat.
To be honest, I can't even tell you what the book was about, but I do remember that it was the first book I read where I saw the story like a movie in my mind, where it brought my imagination to life. And it was, at a time where I wasn't very social. I was a pretty shy kid, and books were my companions, and being able to have a book really come to life in my mind was just kind of this moment where it's like, there's something really special about this.
I'm going to have to check out that book. I saw it on my kids' reading list, but we didn't pick that for the summer, but maybe we'll have to go back and get it. Okay, so here's another quote from the book. And actually, never mind, I'll mention that later. I've felt the difference between being tolerated and being wanted. I guess I was afraid of being merely tolerated. So I thought that was such a thing that we've all experienced and felt that difference in.
Right.
So have you ever experienced that, and what have you learned about confidence, and how can a person grow in confidence that doesn't feel very confident right now?
I still have moments where I do not feel confident at all. I am obviously, maybe it's not obvious. I am an introvert. I really dislike mingling. If I'm with people that I know and I love, it's fabulous. But if I'm thrust into a situation where I don't know these people very well, and I'm expected to socialize, or I'm expected to make conversation, I feel very intimidated. And a lot of times it's like I'm on the edge and I don't really know. People are, they might say something to me because, you're there and they feel sorry for you, or, whatever. But I don't really feel like I deserve to be there, or that I'm wanted. Nobody really wants me there. And I think as I've gotten older, one of the things I think that hinders my confidence is the fact that I worry about what other people think about me. And so as I've gotten older, that has become less and less important to me. I'm not as concerned about what you think of me. I'm very concerned about what God thinks of me. I'm very concerned about what my family, what my close friends think of me. But a stranger on the street, I really shouldn't be that concerned about what you think of me. And to be fair, if I think about it, probably a lot of the other people in this room are worried about what other people are thinking of them. And we get so focused on ourselves and our own insecurities and fears that we forget that other people also have insecurities and fears. And maybe we can be the person that helps them find their confidence. And so, when I'm at a conference, or I'm at some place where there's a lot of people I don't know, I try to remember that they might be feeling just as insecure as I am, and maybe I can be the person that helps bring them out of their shell.
Well, and you're so accomplished and have done so well as an author that I bet you are in that role more of comforting other people who are just like so nervous to talk to you.
Right, which is kind of strange to me because I still feel like I'm the new buddy. I'm not anybody special. I'm just me.
I've noticed. So I'm a part of your Facebook group, The Posse, which go look it up, join it. Karen is super nice, and actually everybody in there is super nice. So hi, Posse. So you're just so personable and just real. You're just you.
Thank you.
I think that is something we all want to be. Just be the person God created you to be. And everybody, if you're worried about how you're appearing, probably everybody else is thinking, how do I appear? Are we good? So just drop it and just enjoy each other.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the themes of Fairest of Heart is beauty, the outward beauty versus the inner soul beauty that is true beauty.
Right.
So what are 3 traits that you find beautiful in people that you try to cultivate in your own life? And then I'm going to ask you a superficial beauty question after that.
Sure. So the things that draw me in that I find very attractive, if somebody is cheerful, if somebody is kind, and if somebody is somebody you can count on, a very dependable person. And I have to throw in, if they have a good sense of humor, that's really a plus. That's really going to, make that person draw me in. I'm going to want to be around that person because they're just, they uplift you, and you're happier when you're around them.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those qualities. Okay. So this is just, I'm over 40 now. I'm going to be turning 42. No, I already turned 42. That's right. This is releasing in January. So do you have any outward beauty or health tips for taking care of ourselves?
I have a lot of things that I should do that I don't.
Don't we all? That's the problem. Do what you know to do. That's the advice.
I try to walk every day. I walk 5 days a week. I walk Monday through Friday, 2 miles. That helps. But I read that question, and to me, I think the thing that makes us the most beautiful is to smile and to laugh, because when you look like you are a happy person enjoying life, people are just naturally attracted to that. Yes. And so it doesn't have to be your physical appearance. Just be authentic and be happy, and that really draws people in.
Yeah. When I was in the airport in line to come here, I don't know about you, but I always people watch at the airport, just all kinds of people, from all over the place and all in one spot. And there was this lady who just, I guess, poor thing, her natural face was like downturned, grumpy. But then the person she was with made her smile and made her laugh, and her whole countenance changed. And it's like, oh, you're so pretty, So yeah, it just makes a difference. That inner joy really does come out.
Yes.
Okay. So one thing I'm doing a little different with you than some others is we're doing a two-book interview. So because A Tailor-Made Bride, my favorite of yours, probably nothing can unseat it because I'm loyal to that book. But
good for you.
These I loved as well. A Tailor-Made Bride, one of my absolute faves of yours, so funny and cute. But in there, one character judges the other because of her fancy fashion and appearance. And I remember when I was reading that, it was like this little light bulb went off that you do that to myself, to cheerleaders, because of a past experience with a cheerleader, and how unfair that is to when someone says they're a cheerleader to be like, oh, or and now some of the nicest people I know are cheerleaders, and maybe one day my daughter will be a cheerleader. So it was just a little like nudge from the Lord, like, hey, I'm pointing this out in you.
Yes.
So what have you learned? Have you ever been judged unfairly, or had a revelation that you were judging others unfairly? And what have you learned about judging others? Did you ever have an experience like that? And did it change you and change your outlook or impact you in some way?
So I don't remember very many specific instances. I do remember, junior high is hard for everybody. And I do remember in junior high, I had a girl one time who was very ugly to me, and she was just so sure that I was just stuck up and was looking down on her and all that, when really I was just super shy and didn't know what to, she was a popular girl and I didn't know what to say, and I just, and so there was a lot of kind of misconception of assuming something about somebody because they're acting in a certain way. And I have to be careful that I don't judge people. So for instance, we happen to be at a writing conference while we're doing this. I tend to be a little envious of people who are able to write books really fast. And sometimes in my head, Satan gets in there. It's like, well, their books aren't as good as yours because they write them so fast. I'm like, that is terrible. They have some wonderful, wonderful, in fact, I have read many of them and thought, this is a great book. So I think I think Satan likes to
Yes.
hit us in the places that
Right.
we're vulnerable, and we do it to try to make ourselves feel better, but really all we're doing
Right.
is tearing somebody else
Yes.
down, and that's not good.
Right.
And one of the scariest verses in the Bible to me is in Matthew 7, where it says, the measure that you use to judge somebody else, that's the measure that's going to be used against you.
Yeah.
I want to have the most generous, grace-filled measure used
Yes.
against me. And so that's,
Yes.
boy, do I want to make sure that's what I'm using for other
Right.
people. So,
That's such
yeah.
a good verse.
Yeah.
Such a good verse. Okay. All your stories have the cutest love stories. So would you share with us your own love story with your husband, and how did y'all meet, and how did you know that he was the one for you?
Sure. Well, we met at college. We actually met at church. And it was kind of funny because initially I was not very attracted to him.
Okay.
I was more interested in his roommate. Which
Oh,
was,
really?
I had actually met his roommate back home, because we were both from California. He and his
Okay.
roommate and I were both from California,
Okay.
came to Texas to go to school, and met Wes. And at first, I was like, this guy's fun. We have a lot of the same interests. And the three of us, he and his roommate and I, became really good friends. And we ended up doing a lot of stuff together, spent a lot of time together. So I got to really know him. I got to know my husband as a friend first. And then the funniest thing happened at church again. A lot of our courtship happened at church. My husband was a song leader. And so this little old man who sat a couple rows back, all the college students would sit like in the same pews. And so I happened to be sitting next to him when he was leading singing one Sunday. And this little old man came up afterwards. He's like, would you introduce me to your wife? And I'm like, what? And so then we started celebrating these fake anniversaries. And, so it kind of became this running joke. Only Wes was being really sneaky, because he was like,
he liked you, for real.
planting seeds, And so one day we went out to celebrate our fake anniversary, just going out to grab Chinese food someplace. And when we were in the car driving back, he sprang the news on me. He's like, I think I'm in love with you. And I was just like, oh. All of a sudden, it's one of those moments where your eyes just open and you're like, maybe this could be the guy, because there were so many things about him. So you hadn't
thought that at all that whole time until then?
I hadn't.
Wow.
It was just, I respect him as a person. I've come to really treasure his friendship. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, maybe there's more. Maybe I need to open my eyes. And he was patient and gave me time to kind of adjust to the idea. And we've been best friends and in love ever since. So
friends to love in real life. I love it. My husband also liked me first.
Oh.
Or at least he was very serious about me. I was like, yeah, I'll date you. You're tall and cute. But yeah, he was very serious, and he gave me time, because when he said he loved me, I didn't say it back because I wasn't sure. I cried because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I was so sad because I liked him a lot. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But it just took me a little bit of time to think, do I love you for the rest of my life?
Right. That's a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So patience is a good thing.
It is.
So, yeah. Oh, I love that story. Okay. So you are so accomplished. For aspiring novelists, we do have some writers that watch the show and listen to the podcast. What is some advice that helped you along in your journey that you remember, or what is some advice that you would give for someone saying, hey, do you have a tip?
When I'm asked this question, I think the first thing that comes to mind as far as advice to give to aspiring novelists is to be patient, especially in today's indie pub world. It's so easy to just, hey, I finished a book, let's just throw it up on Amazon and see what happens. And it takes time to really master the craft of writing, and you need a lot of experience doing it, and you need feedback from other people. So whether you get a paid editor to look at your work, or you have lots of critique partners that will weigh in, you enter contests, all these kind of things. When I first decided I wanted to write with the intent to publish, it was 2003, I think. I signed my first book deal in 2009. So it took 6 years for me to get to that point. And I did go the traditional route, and so that has its own pluses and minuses. But over the course of that 6 years, I really not only learned the craft of writing, but I learned how to kind of write to a deadline. I learned how to put out a book once a year and that kind of thing. And I learned kind of more about the market and how to write, not necessarily to the market, but understand how the market works and how your book fits into the market and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to learn. So take your time, be patient. You only have the chance to make a first impression once, so make sure you're making the best first impression you can by putting the best quality product out there. Whether you go indie or whether you go traditional, it really doesn't matter. You're making the first impression on your readers, and you want that to be stellar.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so we're gonna do some just for fun questions.
Okay.
That'll be speed questions, and
Okay.
then we'll do our duel.
Woohoo!
Okay, so which Snow White dwarf are you most like, and why?
I gotta go with Happy.
Okay.
I love to laugh. I love to cheer other people up, and I just want to have that spirit of cheerfulness. So I'm gonna go with Happy.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so If the Boot Fits is book 2 in your fairy tale series about Cinderella. So just random, how many, are you a big shoe person? Do you have a lot of shoes or very minimal? And do you wear boots?
Well, I happen to be wearing boots. They're not technically cowboy boots, but they're cowboy-esque boots at the moment. I have a pair of cowboy boots. I need to get a new pair. They've kind of worn out.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a lot of shoes. It's probably maybe 15 pairs if you look at, both summer styles and winter styles and all that together. My husband thinks I have way too many shoes. I think he has like 4 pairs or something. So
Okay, so you're just right in there. A few for needed for different.
That's right.
So
Different occasions.
You don't have hundreds. In there,
no.
If the boot fits, why get another?
That's right.
Okay. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's an author that's got it all? So who do you like to read, or who do you like as a person who's another author?
Probably the first one that came to mind was Pepper Basham. I love her both as a person and as an author. I love humor. I have humor in my own stories, and that's what I love to read. And she has so much humor and
Have you read
heart.
Authentically Izzy?
Yes, I've loved that whole series.
She was on last month. I will link to the episode if you missed it. You don't want to miss it.
So good. And she's just fun to be around.
Yes.
She's always encouraging other people, and she's laughing, and she's making funny faces. She's just so fun. So yes, I'll go with her because I love reading her books and love being with her.
Okay. One last thing before we do that duel. No, actually, let's do the duel first.
Okay.
Let's just have it out. Okay. So you were just at, we're at the ACFW conference, and you were just at a class on fighting, right?
Yes, how to write realistic fight scenes.
Yes, realistic. So we are going to duel with rock, paper, scissors.
Got a fist.
So we're just going to do one and done.
Okay.
So we'll say 1, 2, 3, go, and on go we'll make our thing. So
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Oh!
Karen has to do a giveaway.
Woohoo!
So you, so if you would like to enter the giveaway, go to jennysnow.net / let's do Fairest of Heart. The link is in the show notes, also on Facebook and Instagram, and you can enter there. And Karen, thank you so much for offering up that giveaway for us, and thank you for being on the show. And if you've enjoyed the show, would you mind giving us a thumbs up on YouTube? And actually, I would love it if you would leave an honest review. And I would like to thank Lil Rich Mama for leaving the following review. Love these author interviews that Jenny does. She is so fun and asks interesting questions that keep the authors talking. Also love the fun questions at the end to get to know each author. Very neat listen, and I enjoy it so much. So thank you, Lil Rich Mama, for that. And thank you all for listening. You'll have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye.